That's when state police say things get fuzzy. And I say state police because that's the agency that's now leading this investigation. At some point during this time, a Hardin County Sheriff's deputy fired his weapon at the driver. That driver was hit and was flown immediately to University Hospital, where he is now in serious condition.
For transparency reasons, it's just about any other agency that has a shooting in Kentucky will call us in just to have an outside agency do the investigation for transparency.
That deputy, will tell you, was not injured. There was also a Kentucky State Police officer that was here at the time. We're told that officer joined in on the effort to get that driver to stop. That trooper did not fire his weapon. We'll tell you that the deputy that did fire his weapon is on administrative leave as of right now. We're told again that, of course, is protocol. In Hardin County, I'm Eric King, WLKY News.